Okay, so we are live. Good evening once again, everybody. In our last class, we quickly ran through some applications that made up Google Suite, and so in this class, we want to close up that entire space called Google Suite, as far as this training is concerned. And so to do that, we will be looking at a few more applications, and then we will be done with Google Suite. And if time permits, we'll quickly take a peep into another application called Slack. Now, the reason I'm bringing all these applications to the fore is because these applications are what we would be using to work once we begin our freelancing journey. Okay, I've already told us this before, and I think it's important that we are always reminded that these applications I'm teaching you are not all encompassing. But I believe that if you diligently follow this training and you have a very sound grasp of these applications, you should be able to navigate other similar applications. They might not be made by the same company, but their mode of operations will not be so different from one another. And so we'll be rounding off with Google Suite today, and I'll try my best possible to see if we can touch on Slack, because time is not on our side anymore, so that from next week we can be looking at the others. So we return to Google Suite, and how do we go look at our Google Suite? I told us, as usual, you open a tab on your computer or on your phone browser, which should ordinarily be in a desktop view or desktop mode, and then you could type google.com. Once that is done, you locate these 9 dots here, click on it, and today we'll be looking at Google Drive. Last class we stopped at Google Contacts, so today we'll be looking at Google Drive. Click on Drive, and then we have this interface shown to us here. So this is what Google Drive looks like. All right, this is what Google Drive looks like. Now, one thing we need to know about Drive is that it is a storage, a cloud storage. I wouldn't want to call it a device. Just leave it at that. It's a cloud storage that acts as a memory. Okay, but in the case of a drive such as Google Drive, the memory is backed up in the cloud. When we talk about cloud, we're talking about a form of internet storage. Okay, sorry about this. When we talk about cloud, we are referring to a form of internet storage. Okay, like I told us in previous classes, whenever we store things in the cloud, especially in the Google Cloud, those things are stored up in our Google Drive. Okay, so you could want to picture Google Drive as your internet memory card, but in the case of Google Drive, it is not a memory card that you can touch. All right, it is a virtual memory card. However, you can save things on it, and just like your memory card, whenever you're saving things continuously like that, the memory space continuously decreases. Okay, permit me to accept this person. Whenever you store up things in your memory card, the memory space of that card decreases or diminishes gradually. Okay, until probably you delete the items or the files on that memory card, so that you can create space for other things to be stored on it. That is the likeness of Google Drive. All right, whenever you store things in the cloud on Google Drive, the space gradually diminishes. Follow my cursor and you see right here, you can see the storage. I've used 5.64 gigabytes out of 15 gigabytes. Okay, 5.64 gigabytes of 15 gigabytes used. So just like you go to the market and you ask them how much you sell 8 gigabytes of memory card, 64 gigabytes, 128, 1 terabyte, and the rest of them. That is exactly how Google Drive works. Okay, so for the free version of Google Drive, you have a maximum size of 15 gigabytes, and that is why even if you have a Gmail, which I believe everybody in this class already has one, then you already have a Google Drive. I already showed us how to locate the Google Drive. So to see the space, in fact, some of you have already started using your Google Drive even without your knowledge. But if you follow this tutorial after this class, you would see how many storage is remaining out of your Google Drive. For some of you, it might be more than this, and for others, it might even be less than this. Okay, so that is that for the brief on what a Google Drive is. So I'll quickly run us through the most important items on this Google Drive. Okay, if you have not saved anything in your Google Drive, the whole of this space will be empty. The reason why you're seeing all these things is because these are things I have saved on my Google Drive. All right, and it's important that we understand and we know exactly how to use our Google Drive. Reason being that for a remote worker or a remote freelancer, most of the companies or the clients you'll be working with or you'll be working for will need to share stuffs with you or items with you, and due to the distance as a barrier, they cannot have to travel down to where you are to give you these files. All right, so the easiest means to share files without even necessarily having to transfer it like you do with our phones, either through Bluetooth or through Zender or whatever transfer means or transfer app that we use, without needing to transfer all these files. Google Drive is like a means by which two individuals, irrespective of their distance, can share files with each other without even necessarily having to transfer those files among themselves. All they need to do is to grant access, okay, to grant access to one another, and the level of access you grant determines the level of control the other party has over your drive or over your file, as the case may be. So you want to be sure about the access you give to everybody that works with your file. All right, it is advisable that you don't grant anyone you don't trust the highest form of access to your items or to your files or to your drive. In a minute or thereabouts, I'll be showing us exactly all these things in practice. Okay, but before then, let's quickly run through this menu on this left hand side of our column here. The first thing, of course, is the drive up here. Once you click on the drive, it still brings you back to this page. Okay, it brings you back to this page, and thereafter, before I return to this new, let's quickly run through these. All right, this, where you have my drive, shows us everything that you have personally saved on your drive. Everything you have saved on your drive shows up right on this space. Okay, everything, whether documents, whether Google Sheets, whether videos, whether pictures, PDF files, whatever it is that you have saved on your Google Drives. Okay, everything is usually shown under this category, my drive. All right, so whenever you want to see anything that you have personally saved, mark the word. What you have saved personally is what you find under my drive. So if you scroll down, you will see everything I have saved. Top on the list here, most times what you see at this top is what you have most recently opened. Okay, like tonight I actually opened this our slide, which is what I'm using here presently. Okay, which is what I'm using here presently, and it is saved on my drive, even though it is a Google slide. Like I told us in previous classes, whatever you save on any of your Google app, as long as that item or that file is saved in the cloud, that file goes to your Google Drive, so you can access them via your Google Drive. Okay, so this is exactly the slide I am using for this presentation of the training. So anything you open recently will fall in this top category, all right, while every other thing falls underneath. Usually the folders that you have saved come first, and after the folders you can begin to see files. Okay, you can see this is a music mp3 file, this is a PDF file, PDF, mp4, this is a video, and this is a PDF as well, this is a document. Okay, so these are the various kind of files or folders that you can actually save on your Google Drive. Permit me to accept this person, please. All right, so we proceed. If you're just joining us, kindly mute your mic, and if you would do us good, you could turn off your video as well. You could turn off your video as well, so that the replay file will not be so large. All right, thank you. Please turn off your mic. Robinson Wake, please mute your mic. Robinson Wake, mute your mic. Thank you. All right, so we return to this. After the first category, which is my drive, the next thing we have here is computers. Okay, computers, as you can see, there is no file here. The reason is because I have not synchronized the files that I have on my computer to my Google Drive. And in fact, I wouldn't even encourage anyone to do that, because if you do, it will basically move, or should I use the word copy? It will copy all the files in your computer. Okay, all the files in your computer, it will copy it to your Google Drive. And when that happens, you can always be rest assured that automatically this storage here will be filled up, and you don't want that. Okay, because you are not using a paid version. I should have mentioned this. I mentioned that free version have the maximum storage of 15 gigabytes, while paid version, according to the plan you subscribe to, has higher storage size. Okay, you could get 1 terabyte, 2 terabytes, 20 terabytes, and the rest of them. But for everybody using a free version, you are entitled to maximum of 15 gigabytes of storage on your Google Drive. So if I were to synchronize my computer files with my Google Drive on this small space, it will practically occupy everything. Even some videos I have here alone will not even be able to be contained in this storage. So you don't want to do that on your computer as well. Just leave it the way it is. Shared with me, just as the name implies, these are files that someone has shared with you via their own Google Drive. Okay, like I made mention that every individual who has a Gmail account already has a Google Drive, and then files can be shared between two parties using their Google Drives. In other words, I can share my file from my Google Drive with any member of the class, say Lola for instance. All I need to do is to grant Lola the level of permission I want her to have as far as the file I am sharing with Lola is concerned. Alright, so when I share a file with Lola from my Google Drive to her Google Drive, Lola will be able to view that file in this category called shared with me. So when I click on shared with me, you will see so many files that people have shared with me. Okay, these are not files that I uploaded by myself. These are files that people shared with me, either by either by sending them via email or by simply granting me access, okay, from their own Google Drive. So this is where you find such files, all right? Perhaps as class goes on or as the training goes on, I would probably share a file via my Google Drive with the entire participants of this class so that you have a feel of exactly how that works. Next, we have recent. Recent here, as the name implies, simply means the most recent files or folders that you have accessed on your Google Drive. This is where you find them, all right? So all this, like I showed us just not so long ago, this is the most recent file I opened on my Google Drive, and that is why it is the topmost on the list. You can even see it was opened today, and down here you can see these were opened earlier this week, okay, but not today. And that is how you access different files on your Google Drive. The next one here is starred. Just like we explained while we were treating Gmail, there are some important files that you consider too important for you to lose. And because of the volume of folders or files or emails that you have, you can decide that you would star or give a star icon to some important files in your Google Drive, so that whenever you come to the starred section of your Google Drive, it automatically pulls out all those items, all those files that you have highlighted as important. So consider this star as telling the computer that these are the important files that I can always call upon when I need them. And how do you star a file or a folder? Let's quickly return to my drive. Under my drive, I can always see different files and folders that I have uploaded by myself. If I want to star any of these, all I need to do is just move my cursor over that particular file that I want to star, and then on my mouse I right click that on that file. Once I right click on the file, it brings down these options for me, and when it brings down these options for me, I scroll down to this section where I have add to start. All right, once I click on it, it automatically adds the item to the start section. So when I go back to my start section, I should be able to find this. It is right here. So this is how you start your files or your folders and make them fall to the category of important. Okay, so consider start to mean important folders or files that you want to keep for record's sake, and it also helps you to filter your search category. All right, the next thing we want to look at is trash. Just like the symbol here implies, it is where you can find items, files, folders, or anything at all on your Google Drive that has been deleted. Okay, the same thing applies. If I return to my drive, I right click on any file or folder that I want to delete. When I right click on it, I get a drop down, okay, and then I quickly go down to remove. As soon as I click on remove, it will be moved to the trash bin, and that is where it will be until I either restore it, or after some days, according to the settings of my Google Drive, I would lose it permanently if I fail to restore it on time. So let's quickly run down through these items that we have here. Upon right clicking any file or folder, you will be given this drop down. Right at the top most section here is preview. As the name implies, this is the button that you click on to have an overview of this file which you have right clicked. Okay, open with simply gives you options with which you can open a particular file or folder that you have chosen. Share. Share is the option that you use when you want to either send a file to another Google Drive user, or you want to give access to the Google Drive user. All right, I'll quickly use that button. When I click on share, it brings out options for me to input the email, okay, of the person that I want to share this file with. All right, so let's say I have the email of one of you. I simply put it in here. Let's say I use this as the email of the one or the person I want to send this file to, okay? And you can see this has already been ticked for me. Notify people, meaning as soon as they receive this file that I have sent to them, this notification pops up on their mail, okay? If I don't want it to pop on their mail, I simply untick this, and that is done, okay? But it's advisable you leave it on in case the person is active at that moment. They will receive a mail that you have sent them a file via your Google Drive. And then if there's any message that I want to attach to the mail, this is the right place to write up that message, and before I click on the send button. But then, like I made mention of access granted to individuals that are sharing files with you, there are usually 3 levels of access that you can grant to individuals when you share files with them. The first is editor. As the name implies, editor simply means this person it's just like an admin position, okay? And you know what an admin does, or the role of an admin. An admin basically has control to either modify the file or to edit the file or even to delete the file, okay? So in the case of Google Drive, the highest access that you can grant anyone is the editor access, okay? If I grant this person an editor access, I am simply telling the person that you can go ahead and edit this file if there is any correction that needs to be made. If I don't want the person to have access to editing the file, I then click on this, or rather I can go over to this, settings option. Click on the settings option, and then you see viewers and commenters, okay? These are other options that you can always give to individuals that you want to share the file with. If I don't want to give them editor, that's like I unticked this. I don't want to give anybody editor access except if it is a file that I really want to share editor access with the other person. I can simply click on this. Once I click on it, it automatically saves, so there's no need to look for any save button here. And then I return. Okay, so this person is granted editor access automatically. But if I don't want that, I can just go over to the settings and undo that action. Once I am done and I am sure of what I have done, I simply click on send. All right, but discard because I'm not making any changes here. But exactly how do you do that? Because to do that from here might limit your access. So you want to open the file, for instance. You want to open the file. These are confidential files. I can't open them. So let's look for a file that I can open to give us an example of, okay, so we have this file. For instance, you can see I have highlighted this file, and right here I have get link. Okay, before I return here, I missed showing us something right here. Right after the share option, you would find another thing down here. This is the second place where we can find get link. Okay, so if I don't want to send this file as an email or grant access immediately because I don't know the email of the person I'm sending a file to, perhaps the person is waiting for me on WhatsApp or on an instant messaging app, all I need to do is simply copy the link to this file. Once I copy the link to this file, You can see even right here it is written restricted. Only people added can open this link. So if I copy this link and I send to the group, for instance, if you click on the link, you would be asked to request an access from me, because this is a confidential file as far as the Google Drive is concerned. Any file that I have not given you access to, you cannot access it. Okay, so if I want to change this access, I can click on change. You can see that I click on change and I click on restricted. You see, I change this restricted to anyone with a link. Once I click on anyone with a link, this simply means that as soon as I share this link to any group at all, anybody that has this link, even if somebody from the group shares it with their friend and the friend clicks on this link, the friend will automatically have access to this file. And like I made mention earlier, I said that is not what we want to do, especially when it has to do with confidential documents. Okay, so you want to be sure that before you grant access, or you want to be sure of the level of access that you're granting to anybody, so that whenever the person has access to a particular file that you have shared with them, it is the exact access that you want to give to the person that they have. Double check every access that you're granting so that you don't make mistakes with your files, because if anybody has an entire access to your file, they could go ahead and delete the file without your permission. Okay, so if I want to return this, I simply click on anyone with a link and I take it back to restricted mode. All right, so two things. If I copy this link now and I share it to the group, let me do that so that you would see it in practice. This link is copied. I will return to Google Meeting and I will drop the link on the chat box. Okay, I'll drop the link on the chat box. If there is anybody that can access the chat box, go ahead and click on the link and see what it says. If you click on the link, it should tell you that you will be requesting access from me. Okay, and as soon as I click on the link, an email will be sent to my box that this person is requesting access to this link. Do you want to grant the person access or not? If I decline the access, you still will not have access to that file. But if I grant you access, you will receive an email that you have been granted access to view that file. Has anyone clicked on the link? Is there anything you find? Did anybody click on the link? Are you guys with me? Am I talking to myself?
No, we are not. We are with you.
Yeah. Did anybody click on the link? What does it say? Omolola, Olayinka, and Co. Did anybody click on the link? I need you guys to participate so that it stores in your memory.
I'm doing that presently.
Okay. Just let us know what it says when you clicked on it. What is the instruction there?
Okay, it's open.
The file is opened.
No, I think I got the wrong link.
Anosike, did you click on the link?
Yeah. It opened. It showed the freelancing masterclass 1, but it said that I should request for edit access.
Exactly. That is exactly what I was just talking about. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so I will do something again now. I will change this from restricted. I'll change this from restricted so that you can see exactly what we're talking about. I'll change this from restricted mode and under share. Let's give it a few minutes. It's still loading. All right, so we're here under share. I'll change it from restricted to anyone with the link, and then I copy the link again, and then I return to the chat box and I paste it. Okay, can you see my screen? You see, I'm getting a message now that Manuel Pierre, and I think that's Anosike, trying to get access to the link. So this is the mail I am receiving, that Anosike is asking for access. Okay, so I paste this new link to the group and then I send. Okay, now can you go ahead and click on the link the second time and see the difference? Is it still asking you for an access? Has anyone clicked on the link? What does it say? Anosike and Co.
Yeah, it's opening.
It's not. He's not asking for access again.
So
Opening.
it automatically opens the form, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So that is exactly how you should. That's exactly how you should grant access to your partner or your client whenever you're sharing a file or folder with them. All right. So I'll return this to restricted, and we are done with that. Please, you can go ahead and mute yourself so that we can hear each other. Kindly mute yourself, please. Thank you. All right, so having said that, let's quickly look at other options that we have. Right here, we have get link. Okay, get link is simply the shortcut to what I just showed us. If I click on get link, we will return to virtually the same place. You see that? The difference is, unlike going through the other option, which is share, where you can impute the person's email, if you go through the get link option, it simply takes you directly to the link without giving you the option of adding anybody's email. You see, that is just basically the difference. So it's the same as what we just touched on. I'll still return to the right click option, and you see this is how you locate where exactly on your Google Drive a particular file is. For instance, I told us earlier that the first files that appear here are the most recent files, but it doesn't mean that this is their position. These most recent files could be hiding inside another folder. So to locate exactly where they are, this is the option you use to find out. So show file location simply means search out where this file is originally saved. All right. Add shortcut to drive. This is simply adding a shortcut to this particular file, either on your desktop or your drive, as the case may be. Move to, this is an option to move your drive. Okay. So like I used to say, at your own free time, just play around these other options to understand how they work. You can go ahead to rename them, add it to start, make a copy, delete, or not a helpful suggestion, as the case may be. All right, so if I want to, let's say I open this file up. I'm opening this file, and this is exactly what you should be seeing without an access. Okay, I mean, yeah, without restriction rather, but if there were to be a restriction, you wouldn't be seeing that. All right, so having said that, let's go to the last thing here, which is new. When you click on new, 3 options or more will pop out for you. These are the 3 most important options that I will be talking about. Other ones here we have touched on. Google Forms. We'll make quickly look at this and call it a day for Google Suites. Okay, So these three options. The first option is folder. Folder here simply means you want to create a new folder inside your Google Drive. Okay, I repeat, when you click on this first option, which is folder, it simply means you want to create a new folder inside your Google Drive. All right, if I click on it, it will give me option to name the folder. All right, so I can name it freelancing if I want, and after naming the folder, I will then click on create, but I don't want to do that now. All right, or let's just go ahead because of practice. I name it freelancing folder, and I click on create. All right, I click on create. So this folder has been created for me. Everything about the folder is right there. Who created it? Myself at this time. And this is the size of the folder. The folder is empty because there is nothing inside it. If I want to open it, I double click on it and it comes over here. All right, you can see that. So that is how you create a folder. I would return to this and then go back to where we have new again, and then we have two more options: file upload and folder upload. File upload simply means that you want to upload a file or you want to save a file inside your Google Drive. Mark the word file. If what you intend to save is a folder, an entire folder, then be sure to click on folder upload. All right, because if you want to upload a folder and you click on file upload, it will not work. All right, so what exactly or how exactly do we upload a file? Whenever you're uploading a file, you want to be sure of the position in which you are uploading the file, and it is usually advisable that you upload files in different folders. What do I mean? If I have a file, say let's look at a file that I want to upload. I click on file folder, it automatically opens my system option. Okay, you see that? So it uploads different options for me on my system to enable me select exactly what I want to upload. Okay, so if I want to upload this video, I simply click on it. If it is document, I click on it. If it is an image, I click on it. Once I click on it, I click on open, and then it automatically opens. All right, now sometimes you might stumble on this page and you see that some things are missing, even though you are sure that this is where you kept it. Okay, always look down here. What you see here now is all files. Sometimes what you'll be seeing here is custom files. If what you find here is custom files, always change it to all files so that you can see everything that you have saved in a particular folder. If not, you will only be seeing a particular file type. If it is PDF, you will only be seeing PDFs. This video will not appear, these images will not appear. So always make sure that it is on all files so that you can locate exactly where your stuff is. And once you find it, click on it and click on open, or you simply click on it 2 times and then it automatically begins to upload. You will see the track button telling you how many percentage of upload that has been achieved on that particular file or folder. Now, if you want to upload anything into a particular folder, for instance, I created this folder, freelancing masterclass, okay, and I decide that I want to upload a file inside this folder. Don't just come here, click on new and click on file upload. No, if you do that, after uploading the file will simply list itself on this particular item that are already listed here. As you can see, all these items are not categorized. That was because I uploaded them directly, or I saved them from the various Google applications. You can see the Untitled forms and the rest of them, the PDF files. Okay, but if I have a particular folder where I want this file that I want to upload, where I want it to be, I simply locate that folder. In my case, I will locate freelancing folder. You see that? I double click on it. It opens up that folder for me, and this folder is empty. Then I can begin to upload what I want. So if I upload anything now, that item or that file that I upload will find its way inside the freelancing folder. You see that? So that even if I go back to the root folder, that file I have uploaded may not be here, but it will surely be inside the folder where I have uploaded it. And I hope that is clear. Okay, so with that, I think we have a good grasp of what Google Drive is basically all about. So we'll quickly move to the next because of time. At your own free time, please endeavor to practice, because that is the only way you can get a sound understanding of what we are showing us here. The next one I want to quickly touch on, according to order of importance for your freelancing journey, is calendar. A good number of us already have this. We know how to use this, but for record's sake, let me just quickly touch on it. Calendar, as we all know, is what is used to keep track of task and time, scheduling. For some of us who might end up working as appointment setters, you cannot escape the use of calendars. In fact, you have to be a pro in using calendars, because most of the time your boss or your client will request that you set a meeting for them, and the only way you can do that so that you will receive a notification is through calendars. There are so many calendars, just like there are so many drives, but for the sake of this class, like I mentioned earlier on, we are only dealing with Google applications. So in this case, we are dealing with Google Calendar. All right, so this is the interface of your Google Calendar, very similar to your Google Drive. On your calendar, you have right here your traditional calendar with the month, the year of the calendar, the days of the week, okay, the weeks, and each day accordingly. All right, so if you want to move to the next month, just as we're in January, you can always use these arrows to do the movement, okay? But each time you open your calendar, what you will see at the topmost here is the day. That particular day, or the date of the particular day you are opening that calendar, is what you find here alongside here. So today is Saturday, January the 15th, 2022. That's exactly what you have here. As you can see, the whole of January, it will give you a rundown of the reminders that you have. Even right here, you can see a red line struck all through this very horizontal line. Okay, it shows that I have something that I need to pay attention to here. And when it is time, this is 14 o'clock. When it is time, you can see that there are two different times here. I'll show us exactly how I came about that. So this first time here is the Canadian time. This second time here is the Nigerian time. Okay, and I'll quickly touch on that as I progress. Now, under my calendars here, you can see different calendars. This is my personal calendar. These are birthdays that I have saved. These are family calendars that I have saved, reminders, tasks, and the rest of them. At your own free time, please kindly go through all this. But I will touch the most important things. How do you create tasks and events on calendars? I hope you can hear me. Can anybody hear me? Please give me a moment. Okay, we're live again. So I said, as a virtual assistant, you could work in different fields, okay, and you could work at different categories, or in different categories as the case may be, one of which is an appointment setter. And as an appointment setter, one of the tasks that you will be asked to do most of the time will have to do with calendars, because you will either be scheduling tasks or you'll be scheduling meetings, or you'll be scheduling different things. Okay, and the best way to do that is through calendars, because with calendars you can actually share tasks with people. So I'll quickly run through this again for those of us who might have missed it. The first, I said, when you open up a calendar, the first thing you'll be seeing at the top most row here is the date of the day that the calendar was opened. And for today, which is Saturday, sorry, somebody joining us. Okay, for today, which is Saturday, today's date is 15th of January 2022. That's why you're seeing this here. Okay, now down to this section, you'll find the month, January, and the year, and of course the dates highlighted here. You could change the color if you want to. You can play around these calendars to get used to them, but I will just be showing us the vital things that will help us on our journey. All right, so other dates.
Your screen is not showing.
Oh my gosh, so sorry about that. Let me quickly project that now. And everybody kept quiet. What's happening? Okay, can you see my screen now?
Some of us kept quiet because I was using
Yes.
following you on the calendar.
All right, so
Yes, it's showing now.
okay, all right. So back to this. I said when you open your calendar, the date you see here is the date of today, which is 15th of January 2022. It's been Saturday. This is the first place you get to see the date of today. The second place you get to see that is this section here. This section is more like a traditional calendar that we hung on our homes. Okay, you see the date, January 2022, with the date highlighted here, which is 15th. Okay, and then we also have the privilege to move the date forward or backward monthly. If I want to move to February 2022, I use this arrow, I move forward, and then I'm good to go. However, that will not affect any change here. What remains here is the date of today, except if I decide to now select a particular date in February, then everything there will change. You can see that. So that is how we progress with that. And I went ahead, I'll still return to this and how to set tasks and the rest of them. I had to show us some things down here. These were actually selected by me. When you go over to settings option, these settings here, you'll see all that. You have the privilege to select what and what you want to be here. Okay. For instance, this is a calendar. These are everything here is categorized as my calendar. Okay. But right here is my personal calendar, which holds all the tasks that I have saved. Some are recurrent tasks, some are one-time tasks, which I'll be showing us in a few minutes. These are birthdays that I have saved, family events, reminders, tasks, and the rest of them. Holidays in Nigeria. I have the opportunity to as well add other calendars if I have them. For instance, my phone uses a Samsung calendar, so I can actually add it here if I want to. Just click on add, and then you can see subscribe to calendar, create new calendar, browse calendars for interest from URL. If there are calendars that are third-party calendar and you have their URL, you could always use them. Or if you have things that you want to import into your present calendar, like I always tell us, take your time to play around all these things, because time will not permit us to show everything. Okay, so let's return to today's date, which is January the 15th. How do you set a task? Sorry, let me press down. How do you set a task for a particular day? Let's say our next class should be on Monday. So I'll quickly set a task for Monday so that you have a feel of how that is done. Meanwhile, on this section, let me quickly complete this. You can see that by the left hand side of this calendar here, there are two options here. two options of time zones. The first time zone here is GMT -06. This is a Canadian time zone, and GMT +01 is Nigerian time zone. The reason why I had to set this is because I have a client that I work with whose time zone is the Canadian time zone. Okay, so if I have a particular task that I want to accomplish for this client, with my calendar, I can always keep track of when the task should be, when it should be due, and the rest of them. All right. Sorry about the cricket sound. I'm in the village. That's why you could hear that. So this time here, like I mentioned, is the Canadian time zone, and in front here is the Nigerian time zone. A quick interpretation. It means presently the time is what? 9:08. This red bar here depicts the time, the present time. Okay, because 21, I had to set mine to 24-hour clock time. Okay, so 21 is 9 o'clock on the Nigerian time zone, and what it means that is that on the Canadian time zone, they are at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. You can see that. So if there is any time that I feel like talking to my client, the easiest way to do that is to make sure that my time is correctly set on the calendar, so that I can easily know when my client is asleep and when they are awake. So as it is now, even though it is 9 o'clock Nigerian time, my client's time is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I can actually reach out to him now if I want to. Okay, so this is what calendar helps us to do, or this is part of what calendar can help us to do. And I'll also show us how to set all these in a few moments. Also over here, we can decide to set our calendar in days, just as it is presently, or we can decide to change it to weeks. If you change it to weeks, you can see the way it is. It has changed to weeks. And then it gives you a broader view in terms of weeks of what is the task that you have set for yourself. Okay, right here I have 2 interviews on Thursday. Okay, I think it's even past. Okay, I had to interview on Thursday. So if you want to change it to month, you can go ahead and click on this and change to month, and it will also give you a broader view. You can see that, a broader view, and so on and so forth. All right, but I like to leave it on days so that I can have a feel of these time zones. So the next thing I want to quickly touch on, which will be the last thing for calendar, or the penultimate, is settings. I click on settings, I go to settings, and then it brings you here. All right, so this is where you set up everything about your calendar that you want. Again, I will touch on the vital ones, and at your own free time. Okay, you can always look around to see what you can set for your own self, so that the calendar can be customized to your own work schedule. All right, so the first thing is the language, country, and the rest of them, blah blah blah. Time format: if you're not comfortable or you're not conversant with the 24-hour time format, simply come to time format here and change it to this. You can see that 13:00 means 1 p.m. So if you are comfortable with the 1 a.m., 1 p.m. format, simply change it to this. But if you like me, you like the 24-hour format, you leave it at that. Now, this is where you change the time zone. Okay? Now, it gets tricky here. When you want your client's time to be the first option that shows up, okay, so that you don't make mistakes, especially when you have meetings. I will return to the main calendar so that you can see what I'm trying to explain to us. Look here. You see these 2 times? These are 2 time zones here. This is the Nigerian time. This is the Canadian time. Okay? Now, any task I set on this calendar now will be set according to my Nigerian time zone. But if I am working for, this is because I already mastered my calendar, so I don't need to do what I'm going to teach you now. But if you know you are not so good with calendars yet, you might want to consider doing this. This is the primary time zone, which is the Nigerian time. Okay? And this is the secondary time zone, which is the Canadian time, my client's time. But if I told us just now that if I set anything, any task, or any schedule at all on this calendar, it will be set in my Nigerian time zone. Okay? The reason why this, which I'm going to teach you now, is important is because some people you'll be working with, some clients or some companies you'll be working with, might share their calendars with you. And when they do that, you want to be sure that the time zone you set is the time zone of the company you are working with or the client you are working with. So that when you have a meeting, for instance, you don't go and set the meeting in your own Nigerian time zone when your client is a US-based client. And then you are seeing 2 o'clock Nigerian time. And then you wake up only to discover that the meeting is past. So you want to be sure that you are intentional about which time zone is your primary time zone, which is the time zone that will be closer to the calendar here. Okay? So we return to the settings again. If you look here at the settings under time zone, you see primary time zone, GMT plus 0100, that is West African Standard Time, Lagos. Secondary time zone, GMT minus 6, Central Time, Chicago. Okay, so what this thing means is that Chicago is 6 hours, 6 hours behind Nigeria. Okay, 6 hours behind Nigeria. So you want to be sure about setting this time. If you want your client's time to be primary, you could just click on this and it automatically changes. Okay, if not, you leave it the way it is and you're good to go. World clock, if you want, you can add this, and I can as well add time zones if I want. Okay, other things here I would leave it to your discretion at your own free time. Be my guest, play around them and see how they can be of help to you. But the most important ones are what I have just shown us, and I hope that's clear. So how do you set a task? You can either set a task per day. When your calendar is set to the day format, it will give you the 24 hours format of that day, beginning with what? 00. Okay, 00 is the topmost. Look at this line. Look at all these lines here. All these lines indicate hours difference. So this is 01. If you follow my cursor here, you will see that there's a line here, even though it was not written 00. But that was where GMT plus 01 is written, meaning this is where the time begins. So 0000 means midnight. 0100 means what? 1 a.m. in the morning. 0200, 2 a.m. in the morning, and so on and so forth, down to, you can see the time presently is, this is, what time is it now? This is past 9, okay? That is why it is here. 9:16. So if this is 9, 2100 is 9. You can see the red line has gradually moved downwards from where it was when we started this discussion, and that shows that the time is progressive. And when it is 10 o'clock, the red line will be exactly on this horizontal line here. Okay, so when you want to set your time, you first know the time of the event or the task or the reminder you want to set. And then if it is, say, tomorrow, okay, let's set our meeting for next week. Our meeting is Monday the 17th. Okay, the calendar has changed to 17th. Okay, I go ahead and locate 8 o'clock, which is 2000. You can see that 8 o'clock. Now I can click on anywhere on this calendar. However, if the time it pops up does not correspond with the time of the meeting, I will just need to reschedule the time. So let's click on 8 o'clock, and then this pops up again. So you can begin to set the task or the event that you have. Here you can set an event, here you can set a task, here you can set a reminder. Your assignment is go and check out the difference, because we are not in an English class, okay? It will be to your own advantage if you understand all these differences, so that when you're using them, you know exactly which works best. So I will leave it at event. What is the event we have? Freelance masterclass. Okay, that is the event we have. And when is the event? On Monday, January 17th. At what time? 20:00, which is 8 o'clock. To what time? I'm not sure when we'll be finished, but because most of the meetings, it has always been 2 hours. So let's leave it at 2 hours. Okay? Will the event be all day? No. So I leave it unticked. But if the event is all day, you can tick it as yes. What time zone is your event? Ordinarily, your time will be set to the primary time zone, which is Lagos. But if you want to change it, you can go ahead and do that. Okay? You can go ahead and change the time. Just click on this and, oh my God, I've changed. Just click on this and you have the option to change the time. Okay? To the time zone that you want. But in my case, I'm not changing any time. I leave it at the primary time zone, which is Lagos. Does this meeting or this event, does it repeat itself? If no, leave it the way it is. If yes, click on does not repeat and then set it so how often you want it to repeat. This is the basics of setting anything at all on your calendar, whether it's a meeting, whether it's a task, whether it's a reminder, whether any schedule at all. This is the basics of how to set it. So understand what I'm doing and you are good to go. Again, if it is an event that recurs, probably you always have a meeting every Monday. You can decide to set it as daily or rather weekly on Mondays. You can see the option is already there. Weekly on Mondays. And why is the option there? Because the task I'm already setting is set for Monday. If I were setting a task for Tuesday, the option that will come up here is weekly on Tuesdays. Okay? Is it monthly? Is it annually? Whatever it is, you can say. This also applies to birthdays. So calendar is not only used for official purposes. You can use it for individual purposes. You can use it to save people's birthday. For instance, if it were to be a birthday that I'm saving, I can choose annually. And what the calendar helps me to do, the good thing about Google Calendar is even if you lose your phone, you buy another phone. As soon as you sign into your your Google Mail, your Gmail, it automatically synchronizes everything, and everything you have saved on your calendar returns back to your phone. So this is why it is very important to learn all these things. So if it is an annual event that happens every January 17th, I'll just click on this and then it becomes an annual event. Every January 17th, it will remind me of this event. Okay? But because it is just for next week Monday, I leave it on Mondays. I can leave it on weekly as well, but I'll have to set what time to end it. But I don't want to go through all this process, so I just leave it at do not repeat. Do I have guests that I want to add to this meeting? If I have guests, if I know their emails, I can just click on it and I begin to type all their emails. If I have the emails of every one of you present here, I just simply type all your emails one after the other here, and then I continue. As soon as I finish and I send, it will automatically ask me for an option. Do I want to notify all of you that a meeting has been scheduled for Monday? If I say yes, everybody will receive an email that a meeting has been scheduled for Monday. And then you have the option to choose whether you want to attend the meeting or you do not want to attend, that is to decline. Okay, so this is how it happens on the back end. But for here, I won't be adding anybody's name. Okay, so add Google Meeting video conference. This is like, do I want it to be a Google Meeting? If I say yes, I just simply add. Once I add it, you see, it automatically provides a link, a Google Meeting link. It has created a link for me, which simply goes along with the mail that I would send if I were to have added anybody's name here. All right, add a location. If it is not a Google meeting, for instance, if the meeting is to happen on Zoom, you could just simply copy the link to the Zoom meeting and paste it here. Or if there is a different location, maybe it's somewhere around Owerri, if it is a special event for yourself that you're trying to save on your Google Calendar, just type the name of the place, the address, okay? And if the event, if the time for the event reaches, you can even use your Google Map via your calendar to trace the address that you're going to, especially if you're driving. It makes the work easy for you via your Google Map, okay? So add description or attachment. If there is any file that you want to add, this is where you do that. Or you want to further, write a little note with regards to the meeting or the class that you've set for yourself, so that you don't forget. You can do that here. And then, how do you want people to be notified, or how do you want to be notified yourself? Because if this meeting time eventually reaches, anybody that has access to your Google Calendar or something, on their end they will see that you are busy. Once it is time for this meeting, it will automatically inform everybody who has access to your Google Calendar that you are busy, okay? Or who has a meeting with you via Google Meet or anything, that you are busy at this time, okay? How do you want to be notified? This is also where you set that. Do you want to be notified 30 minutes before the time of the meeting, or you want 5 minutes before the time? You go ahead and set that here. And then there are other options that you might want to try out. If I don't want people to see that I'm busy, I can change it to free. Of course, you can't be in a meeting and you're free at the same time. So this is the basics of how to set a task, an event, or a reminder on your Google Calendar. Once I'm done, I simply click on save, and it automatically saves to my, you can see it is saved to my calendar, so that even if I change this calendar to weekly view, I will still find it here that between 20:00, which is 8 o'clock on Monday 17th, to 22:00, which is 11 o'clock, which is 10 o'clock rather, on that same Monday, it means I am booked. So the good thing with the calendar again is, once you are conversant with this calendar, it helps you to manage your time. When you hear people, let me check my calendar to book an appointment, this is basically what they are doing, okay? So by the virtue of you being in this class, I want you to cultivate the habit of learning how to manage your time using Google Calendar, so that you know exactly when you're free and when you're occupied. It helps, because when you begin to master it, it becomes easier for you when you have to start working with it. I hope this is well understood. So I'll stop here for Google Calendar and move over to the next thing, which is Google Docs. So I'll touch Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slide, and a little on Hangout, and then that will be all on Google Suite. So let's quickly move to Google Docs. Google Docs, like I made mention on a particular on one of our classes, Google Docs has similar effects or similar view as your Microsoft Word. If you have been typing on a computer before using Microsoft Word, Google Docs shouldn't be a problem for you. So if you have never used a Google Doc, this is what you will be seeing, just this first line. But if, like me, you have been using a Google Doc, then this is what you will also be seeing, other things that you have done with Google Docs, okay? Like I told us earlier, anything saved on Google Docs is saved on your Google Drive, don't forget. So to begin, Google Docs, as the name implies, simply means Google document. Docs means document. If you want to start off a fresh document, sorry, somebody joining us. All right. If you want to start off a fresh document, all you need to do is click on blank. Click on blank, and it opens up a fresh document for you, which you can begin to type. Okay, you can begin to type anything. You can even see it looks just like your Microsoft Word. anything you're typing or anything you want to type, you can name it right here. Give it a name. You can name it anything at all of your choice, and then begin to type. You can choose your font style. Okay, if it's Time New Romance or whatever it is, you can choose your font style. You can choose your font size. Okay, you can even decide to zoom or not to zoom. So everything here is basically to enhance your writing. Okay, just like you do when you're typing with your Microsoft Office. All right, so this shouldn't be much of a problem. And anything you type here is automatically saved, provided you are online, provided you're typing online. If you're typing offline, it might not be saved. In fact, it will not be saved. But as soon as you're typing online, automatically it is saved, so that even if you type on your computer and you travel to Wiri or to Anambra like myself without your laptop, I can pull out my phone from anywhere, simply open my Google Doc. Okay, once I open my Google Doc, I fetch out anything that I have typed, all right, via my computer from my phone, and then I have access to it. So that is basically that. I'll quickly show something I typed using Google Doc, and I would share with some of us, or with all of us anyway, so that you could go ahead and use it for your private learning. So I would open this document right here, IT support. I'll open this document right here. These are links to various tutorials that I have had the privilege of learning over time. Okay, so all I need to do, sometimes what I just come up to this my file here, and then I pick up any tutorial that I have not touched and I watch videos. So when I tell you watch videos, it is not just you doing it, it is what I also do. So you can see there are so many links here that I have saved over time that helps me to just call out any video of my choice that I want to watch, so that I can also keep growing as I teach others. So by the end of the class, or perhaps now, I will just share the link with us so that we could have access to them. I won't be sharing the first one for personal reasons. The first one is a private document, so I won't be sharing that, but I'll share these other ones with us. I'm doing it live so that you see exactly how it is done, because that is exactly what the aim of the class is, that everything is done practically for you to see and learn. Okay, so here we go. I copy this, and then I open a fresh folder. I hope you're seeing what I'm doing, and then I paste it. Control V. I copy with Control C and I paste with Control V. This one is not part of the class, but I'm just saying it. So once I paste with Control V, it automatically saves to my drive, and it is saved to my Google Docs as well. So what do I want to name this? I name this freelance learning links. Okay, freelance learning links. So at your own free time, I've given you another, so that you don't complain that you don't have access to LinkedIn here and there. You can always read ahead of the class with all these links that I have provided. So another thing I want to quickly show us is how to share our Google document. It's almost similar to how you share your Google files via your Google Drive. Okay, so to share, simply click on share here. Just as you can see, presently it is private to only me. So if I want to share it, I go through the same procedure, allow it to load, and here I am. I either copy the link, for if I do this, it is on restricted mode. So I'll change this link I change it to viewer. Okay, so this is where it is. Remember when I was dealing with Google Drive, I said give people only the access that you want them to have. So these are the three categories of access that you can give to people: viewer, commenter, and editor. Editor is the highest, commenter is semi-highest, okay, viewer is the least. So a viewer can only see what is on the document but cannot edit anything on it. A commenter might be able to edit, okay, but cannot delete the document. But an editor can edit, can view, can delete, okay. So an editor is just like an admin of the file. So I will just change it to viewer, and anyone with a link can have access to it. So consider this my free gifts to you all, coming from my innermost stores. So I copy this link. I'm done, and then I head over to class and I paste it. So if you are part of this class, please do well to keep this link. Don't come and ask me on WhatsApp later that you didn't get the link. Copy this link now so that you can save it somewhere before the class ends. So that is basically that for Google Docs. Okay, you see how simple it is. Every other thing is left to your discretion. How you type is left to you. How you want to paragraph your document is totally your concern. Another thing I want to quickly touch on is presentation. Okay, just like I am presenting my slide to you, I can also present my document, you see. So if I want to present this document in a meeting, I just use this option here. Okay, once I click on it, it gives me the option of how I wish to present this meeting. Okay, how do I wish to present this meeting? I can present this meeting. Can everyone hear me? Let me be sure that I'm not talking to myself. Somebody confirm that you can hear me, please.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, I can.
All right, thank you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. So, all right. So you can see now that everybody on this call. Oh, it's popped off. Everybody on this call, you can see all your names are popping up here. Anosike and 3 more are in this call. So as I am on this call, I can decide to present this document to you people. So this is mostly used for business purposes. If I have a document and I don't want to start writing it out to people, or I don't want them to have access to it, I don't want to share the document, I just share it via presentation. So once I click on it, it takes out my screen and begins to present this document to everybody. Okay, so that is that. And right here is where you comment. Okay, if you remember, I told you the 3 categories of access: viewer, commenter, and editor. So if a commenter, for instance, comments on this document, I should be able to get the comments around here. So with this, we are basically done with Google Documents. Okay, so we move to the next. For time's sake. Move to the next thing. I return to the 9 dots, and then we'll proceed to Google Sheets. I won't spend too much time here because of time. Google Sheet is almost the same as Google Documents. The pattern is almost similar, but the difference is this one is mostly used for arithmetic purposes. Okay, Google Sheets has a feel of Excel. If you have used Excel sheets, Microsoft Excel sheets before, then you should be familiar with Google Sheets. Okay, so these are what bankers and accountants use, and of course, if you are a bookkeeper, you will likely be using this as well. I wouldn't want to spend much time here. Like I said, you could just go ahead and read up on this to get a grasp of what it can do for you. Formulas can be applied here, and so for the sake of this class, I would recommend a particular course on LinkedIn, if you have the time, do well to take that course. It is administration, something administrative. I would send a link most likely to our WhatsApp group. If you take that course, it's a learning path. If you take the course, you would get a broader understanding of Google Suite as a whole, or the Google document, Google Slide, and the rest of them. So consider this just an introduction to most of the Google Suite because of time that we're trying to cover so many things. So if you look at this edge, you see that it's almost the same. In fact, it is the same thing as our Google document. You can share with anybody if you have anything on this. You can present it and you can comment on it if you have been given access to comment as a commenter. You can give it a new name, okay, so that it is saved in the name you want it to be saved as. And every other thing here is just to aid your calculation, formulas, writing, and the rest of them. So I could save. Remember when we wrote a form, when we filled a form, and the form was collected. If you remember vividly well, it was collected via a Google Sheet, and each person could see their names based on the categories of that form that I asked you to fill. So perhaps I have to open that form again so that we understand exactly how Google Sheet works. So permit me to go straight to forms. The last form I created was a masterclass. So I open this up, and then there's a, yeah, okay, so 13 of you have responded. Okay, so this is the form, and then I collect it via Google Sheets. Once I collect it via Google Sheets, this is what it looks like. This is how Google Sheets looks like. Okay, so you can see that. So Google Sheet can be used for different purposes: collection of data, collection of numbers, what have you. Use it to even solve mathematical equations if you know how to do it. Okay. However, if your field is accounting or bookkeeping or data entry, I would recommend that you master Google Sheets. It is very important. So that is that for Google Sheets. We'll quickly proceed to the next, which is, please permit me if I'm too fast, you can always watch the replay of this session. We'll move to the next, which is Google Slides. Okay, Google Slide is similar to Microsoft PowerPoint. If you have ever used Microsoft PowerPoint before, that is exactly how Google Slide works. Okay, to create a new document, a new Google Sheet, or a new Google Slide, always use the blank option. It gives you access to create anything from scratch. Okay, and the same thing happens if anybody shares a Google Slide with you. You would also find it in your Google Slide, just as you can see here. Even this presentation that I have here with me, I made this with Google Slide. Okay, I made this with Google Slide. So
your mic got off. I don't know if you were talking before.
Sorry?
Your
What did you say?
Your mic cut off. So I don't know if you have been talking before.
Oh yes, I was talking. Did anybody experience that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well,
It went off for some minutes.
Wow. What was the last thing you heard, please? What was the last thing you heard? Are you with me? Hello, can you hear me?
Used as a PowerPoint.
Okay, PowerPoint, perfect. So I said Google Slide has similar effect as your Microsoft PowerPoint. Are we on the same page now? Can everybody hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect then. So I said Google Slide has the same effect as your Microsoft PowerPoint, except that it tends to be lighter than most Microsoft files. Okay, and of course, wherever you work on it, it saves on your Google Drive, so you can always have access to it anywhere. And I also told us that this document which I am using to present to us was actually created with Google Slide. Okay, so very simple. The way to go around it: create a new blank sheet, and then you have a blank presentation slide like this. Okay, and then you are presented with options to use. You can see these are templates. I forgot to show us on your Google document as well. You will see templates. So these are templates. You can see the one I used. This is the one I used to create this particular slide that I am using to present. You see that? So you can decide to choose from these templates that have already been uploaded for you by Google, or if you feel you are a designer, you want to design everything from scratch, be my guest. You can simply start your design from scratch and then do the rest as it pleases you. And over here is basically the same thing as we have been doing with other Google applications. Comments here, present here. For this has a special slideshow button because it is basically for presentation. Okay, that is why it has a dedicated slideshow button. And the slideshow button, once I click on it, it basically just enlarges what you have here. Okay, taking out every other screen that you can see here and leaving just this center screen. As an example, this is what it is. Once you click on slideshow, this is what you get. Okay, so here we are. So this is what you get once I click on slideshow. All right, so I'm taking it out so that we can continue from where we stop. So once you create anything, you choose a template, the template automatically loads here, and then you begin to create everything that you desire to create via your presentation slide. So that is that for Google Slide. And of course, other things here, even though I have not touched on them, there are things that you can always play around at your own free time. Okay, files, you want to download it, which way do you want to download it? As a Microsoft PowerPoint, PDF file, ODP, all this, you can always play around them when you are watching the replay. Okay, because of time, I will just proceed. The next thing and the last, which I am hoping that I'll be touching here, is Google Hangouts. Okay, this one might not necessarily be used, but for the sake of this training, let's just see how I use this through my email. Okay, I use this through my email. I don't usually come here, but if you feel like, you can always come through this measure. Of course, Google Hangout, I told us at a certain time when I was treating email that Google Hangout is simply a replica of your WhatsApp chats. You can message friends and colleagues. You can also make video calls with it. Okay, so this is the interface. All right, so most companies, instead of WhatsApp, they prefer using Google Hangout or Google Chat. So either ways, just familiarize yourself with it. This is not something that I need to be teaching you. Once you have your Gmail account set up, you automatically have access to Google Hangout. And if a company or a client that employs you needs you to join their Google Hangout, they'll send you a link to the company's Google Hangout via your email. You receive it and then you join via Google Hangout. All right, so with this, I have come to the end of everything that I need to teach on Google Suite. Okay, everything that needs to be taught on Google Suite, we've come to the end of that today. So the next thing that we'll be looking at, according to our presentation slide here, is Slack. All right, is Slack. But because of time, I would not want to go into that. But if I should go into that, I would like it to be a general agreement. I wouldn't mind taking it tonight, but let me hear from everybody. Is this something you want us to do tonight? Are you guys still with me?
Yes, we are with you.
So do I take Slack tonight, or I move it to the next class?
Wow. I'll suggest we move it to the next class, but let's hear from others as well.
Of course, like we're hoping that somebody will build the cat. Yeah, we think moving it to the next class is actually a good idea.
Okay, so I would encourage us. Oh, all right, okay, that's fine then. So by tomorrow, thank you.